Where you start doesn't really matter, because if I tell people like that village story doesn't matter, it's my past. For me to go to secondary school, I was taken like to be a maid. The agreement here was like, you can come, you be my maid, I pay for your school fees. There are some situations that we need to humble ourselves. There is an aspect to be humble and climbing the ladder. And if you are going to be a leader, that aspect is very, very important. Where I am today really matters than where I started from. So it doesn't really matter where you start, but where you end does matter. For me to go to secondary school, I was taken like to be a maid. That was like when I was, I think maybe 14, 13, right? Like the agreement here was like, you can come, you be my maid, I pay for your school fees. And then Comfort come and remove me in that situation and put me in a boarding school. It changed the trajectory. I think that was the first time. Then when I finished my A level, while I was staying with my brother, I don't have a job. I'm trying to do this, like applying, and nothing is coming up. I went again to be a maid.
Mm.
Right. So I worked to just like have money to buy myself some things while I'm preparing. Like I want to go to uni. So I worked in like a couple of houses, like away from where I used to stay. And then come back home. I got another job in one of the Econet's bosses in Budiriro. Right. So I went to Budiriro and worked for the third time as a maid, and that was my last. And it will never happen again.
That's amazing. How? Oh
Yeah,
my.
I had like six, like passed my O levels and like all levels, A level, and still be a maid. So sometimes, like, there are some situations that we need to humble ourselves. Like the dream is bigger than like you. It's about seeing like where you want to go, like where you start doesn't really matter, because if I tell people like that village story doesn't matter, it's my past.
Mm.
Where I am today really matters than where I started from. So it doesn't really matter where you start, but where you end does matter.
It reminds me of one of the guests we've heard on the show, who is also quite a sister of mine,
Yeah.
Dr. Elfo Mupambwa. She told me that at one point she couldn't get the job that she wanted. After graduating with a finance degree from NAS, she went and she became a cleaner at WIM. And it's I think of all the we have had a number of guests on the show, and there is this clear line you see of humility. And another guest we have heard, who founded Global South Opportunities, talked about how he once went to Namibia and worked as a bouncer. So you see the stories of people who have done so many amazing things with their lives. And at one point, she worked as a cleaner, you worked as a maid, you worked as a bouncer, but look at where you are now. So I think there is something to see there, that if these people who are doing these amazing things with their lives, if they humble themselves at this point, maybe there is a lesson there, that you have to humble yourself in the journey of life. At some point, you have to do things that you may not want to do.
But I used to think like now that I am a leader, right? I just joined the company at 1 year, 7 months. I was promoted to be a manager, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Obvious, the leadership is in me. I've led like different initiatives, work with like people on different like stages of leadership.
Mhm.
That those kind of like moments that I was humble, even if I was maybe like I could have said, andingatombonoita sisile chikorobo because I have maybe 9 O levels, or maybe I have 13 points. Do you get what I mean? But that point, like I think it really works well for me because I work with people like from very, very difficult background, and rarely I've used my title. Like it's funny that I have met some people. I would give you like an example. Yeah, Marvelous Nyongoro. Maybe you would know him.
Mhm.
The first time I met him, he thought that I was a nobody because
Mm.
I'm just this kind of humble person. He had a chat with my co-founder, and then he wanted like the carbon footprinting thing. And that's when my co-founder was like, Mave, forgetting the antogonoto kubatsira. And he was like, okay. And it was like, oh, forget what you're going ndo panoti Chashi. Right.
Mm.
But because when I get to another impact hub, I was just like this kind of person. Everyone there, everyone is just there to show up themselves.
Mhm.
But like because I operate in a very humble, like because I grew up also maybe in a humble kind of situation. I love to understand people. I might be that one person who will be in the room and people brag and do all this kind of stuff, right? And still be there and like, but I think that humbleness, it will help you as you are becoming a leader.
Mhm.
And also when you want to progress in life, you will need to have that aspect of humility,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I think it helped me. Like, I don't struggle getting like into leadership wherever I go.
Mhm.
Right. It's just natural. But in my leadership, I connect with people. I think like it's key wherever I've been. People say like the way she connect with people, right? Even at work, like people sometimes like, you went to Edinburgh, right? We didn't know because they saw like maybe me posting, or maybe they saw a post of the university mentioned me, like, oh, we didn't know. Because so there is like an aspect to be humble
Mhm. Mhm.
and climbing the ladder. And
Mhm.
if you are going to be a leader, that aspect is very, very important. But
Mm.
it's underrated because people tinogona kungokwanisa kudzikisirana kuti ndimade ndaitova neshamwari dzandaitoenda nadzo chikoro, like that were like akatopedza tatova musecond year. Like it took me 2 years after I finished school kuenda kuuni. Vanhu vandakapedza navo 2013 vari kuuniversity. People said all sorts of stuffs, right?
Mhm.
Including family members, like takazvitaura zviya pakaenda kuchikoro A level, but anoswera achiti hauskero.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Right. You can just imagine anoswera achiti hauskero. But I have also worked with people like vanotambura. Unoziva kuti pane pekuti like tosekana kuti kuAfrica kune nhamo. The people I worked with in Costa Rica, like my 12 months of work experience, going into those, it needs a spirit of humbleness. Like, okay, how am I going to help these people get to their level? So that like it doesn't look like uri pamusoro pavo, you are giving them orders, you want things to flow in. It takes that like humility that I got when I was a maid. I was a maid.
Mm.
Maybe mumba mamai vandakatodzidza kupfuura futi.
Mm. Mm.
And vachindiudza mangwana makuseni, muka ndotoita zvese ndichiteerera.
And I think there is a lot to be said for humility. I wish I really, really wish people know that. Your humility and your character can take you places your education cannot. I think
Exactly.
and I think sometimes we miss it and we just pursue the good grades, we just pursue the qualifications, and then we forget the fundamental ones, working on your character, working on your humility, and being teachable. Kudzidzisika chaiko, and having the humility to say, I don't know. And I think humility can be kuziva kuti handisandasvika, and it can also be handizivi and I have to learn. Kune vamwe vanhu vasingabvumi kuti havana zvavasingazivi, and I think it takes a lot of humility to say, I don't know and I want to learn.
That vulnerability,
Mhm.
it will take you very far,
Mhm.
right? One day I went for a fundraising event in London. And then there is this like British, say Chris Wones. I think like man earn 1 million a day,
Mm, mhm,
right? Damn rich. The
mm,
way he showed up in the room, like people, those are the people, like, if you do not have like this kind of humility, those are the people that you can say like, and then I was moved by the way he's very humble, like simple dressing, down to earth. When I now read about like this is the man earn £1 million a day, right? But still very, very, very humble, down to earth. But I just think like most people, how we also carry ourselves in people cannot patringetanda either open doors for us or close doors for us. Because I've met great people that were looking so cool and quiet, and then like later on, like, we want to connect with you, and then you now understand who they are. And also sakaseyo anga wasinga mbonekere. Right. Some people have closed like greater doors. Some people have shut help for them, or maybe they met someone who was going to take them to closer to their destiny, but the way they have presented themselves or the way they have treated people, and people will be like, no, not this person. Right. So I always tell my mentees that you need to be very careful with the way you carry yourselves. You meet different people, you don't know who they are, right? Just like be normal. Try to not like wakazvipa wega chee kana kuti wakazvisira chee kumberi. Panozouya varidzi vanenge vakagadzirirwa machezi ndopaunozonzi enda kumashure. Pachitorina anogona kugara kumashure, maybe unozopedzisira wapiwa cheya yekumberi.
Wow,
Right.
that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah. So there is much, I can't emphasize enough humility, like being humble. You can be achieved and still be the most humble person in the room. And it will open for you doors. Trust me, it will take you somewhere, right? It will take you somewhere. There will be also some like people think like, okay, kuri kuuya president kudiwe vanhu vakavhanga ndira. Who are we going to get like on the front line? Right.
Absolutely.
So how we carry ourselves, how we do, as much as we are achieved, it's good to have that part of humbleness. Because like, there are two things like that define people here, like how people progress and how people not progress. The level of humility. Right, the level of humility. Because if you are too pompous, if you are too proud, people will just let you like, it's okay. Let's just let this person. How can you help someone who has it all? Right. If you think you have it all, nobody's gonna add to where they see they might have it all. People will add where they see there is a need.
They need to.
Yeah. So that attitude, that humility, I can't emphasize enough on humility, like that humbleness.